Welcome back. We're joined once again by Congressman Joe Garcia. Congressman, let's do a couple of things real quick. Let's go through the Farm Bill that recently passed. Big cuts to why am I blanking? Big cuts to food stamps.
It's unfortunate, right? And it's wrong, and we got to find a way to put it back. But their first bill had $40 billion a cut. Would have almost, and another bill they literally got rid of food stamps. And this is silly, Jim. It's something that helps farmers, right? We're giving you money to buy what our farms produce. So it makes no sense. But the Republicans had a big problem with it. We finally negotiated them down. It has very little impact in Florida. We're not affected in a big way because the food stamp cuts are through state programs. We do a little bit better with that. But here's the part that it has good. Obviously I represent Homestead, a lot of farmers down there in the Redlands. It's got money for specialty crops, $300 million in research. It's got about $400 million in grants. This is all good for South Florida. I don't know if you know this or not, Jim, but South Dade is the most productive land per acre in the entire state of Florida. It produces product all year. We're in the middle of cucumber and squash season. It's what everybody out there is picking. It's what they're growing. But we're the only tropical fruit producing part of the country, so it's all good for us.
Let's pick another area that's of real concern, flood insurance. We were about to see a huge increase in flood insurance along coastal areas. The Senate just passed a bill which will stall those rate hikes. What's it going to do in the House?
Well, we hope we'll pass it. I mean, Boehner's announced that he's against it. Pelosi said we've got to get behind it. There are over already 50 Republicans that have signed on to Democratic bills to get this forward. This affects working class people across the country. Jim, I have a home in my district that the home was bought for $190,000, and its yearly flood insurance is $38,000 a year. It's impossible, right? And this is a guy who bought a house on the ground because he's got a wife in a wheelchair. He can't get her up into the stilt houses in the Keys. A working class guy, he's a mechanic.
But does that, when you hear that Speaker Boehner says he's against the flood insurance reform that the Senate passed, does that mean it's dead?
No, I don't think so, because he's got members that are in really tough districts that this is affecting. So he's got to try to find a solution. Unfortunately, the philosophy by the chairman of the Financial Services Committee is that he believes in no government-run insurance or subsidies. As you and I both know, Jim, this is part of life down here in South Florida, and we got to be ready for it. So it's important.
All right, now let's end on on minimum wage. President once again called for an increase in the minimum wage. You know, there are a lot of people in the business community who believe that increasing the minimum wage will just end up costing jobs. Employers will be less likely to hire new employees if they have to pay them more.
Jim, I think it's ridiculous. We have the highest corporate profits in American history. The stock market is well over 15,000. When Barack Obama was sworn in, we were a little bit over 7,000. That's doubling the market. The time has come to be fair and to bring the minimum wage to where it was. It makes all the sense in the world. You know, I listened to the Republican response, and he says it's an equity thing. No, it's not an equity. The majority of people who make minimum wage in this country are women. Many of those women are running households. When you just give them that little bit extra, it's more money they can spend. It's more money, food on the table, better food on the table. It moves our economy. And Jim, the great strength of the American economy is not the very wealthy in our country or the very poor, but it's that middle that is able to do business with everyone. And when you increase that bottom a little bit, it moves us all up along the run. It makes our country better.
But the Republicans talk in terms of aspirational goals. The goal shouldn't be to have an individual seek a job for $10.10 or $7.25 an hour. The job should be of the government to sort of help them find that pathway to a true middle class opportunity.
And that's what the president talked to. The best way to describe it is a sort of safety net of education, right? We know that the American economy is going to change. One of the great capacities of the American economy is the ability to retrain. Jim, if we would have listened to the Republican nominee for president last time, we wouldn't have a motor car industry. Yet Ford last year posted its biggest auto sales in history. The reality is our country is moving forward. The reality is we're creating jobs. Detroit is creating jobs, or better yet, the car industry is creating jobs. That's an amazing thing, but it means that we're all in this together. And if, society shouldn't be judged on how its top lives, but how its weakest live. And if we can't treat them fairly, we've got no business calling ourselves a democracy.
Congressman Joe Garcia, thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, no, we'll pick it up again on another time. Up next, are we headed to another Election Day Armageddon this November? What do you think? We'll be right back.